One topic that comes up in conversation between men is women. Every day is a story. I'm Shannon Cason. Make sure you like and subscribe. I got into a good conversation with my uncle yesterday, and we had to go to a few doctor's appointments. He had one in the morning, then he had a second one in the afternoon, so there was a lot of time in between. And I actually stopped off at a coffee shop to release yesterday's podcast, but we still had more time after that, so we drove to the waterfront to chill out. And this is off of the Detroit River. First, we went to the E-course side of the waterfront, and there was no shade. Like, there was no tree to park under for shade. So I told him about this story I had just recently heard, too, that somebody drove from the street straight through the waterfront to the water to unalive themselves. That just recently happened. My mom told me about it when I drove her to the waterfront. But there was no shade on this E-course side, so I drove further down to another part of the waterfront. This is on the Wyandotte side of the waterfront, and I found some shade. So the conversation was on the Pistons game. The Pistons recently came back from a big deficit to win their first round of the NBA playoffs. And we were talking, and we stopped at a red light. And this very attractive woman walked past the walkway in front of the car. And our conversation just went silent. I noticed, of course, so I just said out loud, one thing that always get men's attention is beauty. And we both laughed. And we parked the car under the shade tree, and the silence continued. And then I asked, did you have any standout, beautiful women in your life in the past? And he told me a story about a celebrity that he flirted with once. And he was getting off of work, and he happened to run into Debbie Morgan. And if you know Debbie Morgan, she's a legendary actress, but she was in a play or something in Detroit. And he said they were both waiting on their takeout food. My uncle loves his food, so he probably was at a nice place getting food, and they started talking. Now, my uncle's a handsome guy, too. He's a handsome guy, tall, about my height, and a good smile, perfect afro at that time. But he said they got their food, and she lingered around for a little bit, so he could tell there was something there. So him being a gentleman, he offered to walk her to her hotel, and she accepted. And he said they just had a good conversation on the walk, and he told me that she was more beautiful in person than she was even on TV. Now, it does have that effect. Excuse me. I remember I saw Sanaa Lathan in person, like at a store, and I was like, dang, she looked finer in person. But, so it had that effect. So he said he'd get to the hotel, and they talked for a little bit more, and they shared information. But he says that's all that happened. That's what he told me, at least. That was all that happened. So we kept going. And he told me about some true beauties that he had in his life over the year. Going to jazz clubs and concerts. And my uncle loves music. I mean, he really loves music. And what better way to enjoy a good concert and beautiful music than with a beautiful woman? But that depends. So he stopped himself, and he said that the one woman that really had his heart wasn't like classically beautiful. She wasn't a traffic stopper like a lot of the others were. But he said it was all of her. It was like all parts of her that was so special to him. And I agreed. I'm like, even in my life, and I've had a number of beautiful women. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bragging. I'm bragging a little bit, but it's just the truth. Many of them might be listening right now. Trust me. If you're listening, you're in good company. But the true effect of the really major loves in my life weren't attached to just the curve of their lips and the length of their legs. And he had a poem that went along with it because we were talking about it. And my uncle loves music, books, and poetry. And he memorizes the poetry too. He said, "'Tis not the lips nor the eye, we beauty call, but the full and joint effect of all. And it was a quote from an Alexander Pope poem, an essay on criticism. I looked it up, after he told me. And my dad, he always warned me about super attractive women. This is growing up, He like, just make sure, a certain risk and responsibilities that come with it. And I'm just like being honest when I talk. These are the real conversations that we have. If you get offended, if I talk about women or beauty, hey, that's a part of life. People talk about each other. I'm sure people talk about everything. So just let me talk. So my dad would tell me them conversations too. And me and my uncle talking, we were honest. It's not always about, I always enjoyed unique qualities over beauty. Like compelling conversations. Can we really talk about something? I love voices. I'm big on voices and humor and laughs. And I love boldness. I've dated a lot of people who have boldness, but it's a little bit of insecurity mixed in for honesty. Because they're being so bold and out, like bold dressers. Like they dress really bold, that they're pushing their own limits. And I can see it a little bit because I know them, but they aren't arrogant about it. Trust me, my ex-wife used to dress, oh my goodness. I used to go out and feel like I'm with a superstar, which I was, and some of the other people I've dated, I'd be like, dang, they can really dress and they don't care if everybody's looking. I've always admired that in a lot of the women in my life. So there's some standouts always, some standouts in beauty, but it's not the lips or the eye we beauty call, I'm trying to remember it, but the full effect of it all. I'm butchering the poem that he gave me, but the moment of meaning in that conversation by the waterfront was beauty can be universal, but not necessarily universally desired. There's a quality that's behind the eyes, and people who make you feel something real tend to stay with you forever, even if it's only the memory and the stories. But what about you? Are there relationships from your past that weren't necessarily your type, but they had a greater effect on you? Who is someone that crosses your mind still after all this time? That rhymed. What's your story?